Facebook and Instagram. Oh, great. So we're recording now. That's wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. Shall we move on to the agenda? There we go. And I'm just going to pass over to John now, I think, to just set the context.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So, sorry, I'm just letting people in at the same time. So it's digital learning, ESOL and digital learning that we're focusing on today. And of course, this is something which a lot of people have told us they'd like to focus on in a lunchtime showcase. You know, when you fill out your evaluation form and we ask you what you're interested in doing, it works because lots of people said they'd like to explore digital learning in more depth, and so we've put this session on as a response to that. And of course, it is so important. It's something which is so integral, actually, to English learning these days, and it's becoming more so as we advance because. Technological advances are so rapid and they become increasingly embedded in our everyday lives. So we need to take account of that technological advance. But I think there's also some other factors which have been very influential in leading us to really need to focus on this topic in a sustained way. And the first one, of course, is the pandemic, which vastly increased the pace of moves towards digital communication in ways we simply would not have imagined probably, you know, sort of 5 or 6 years ago. You know, the very fact that here we are having a session like this now is a demonstration of that. I think we probably wouldn't have imagined it in, I don't know, 2018 or something. So that's one thing we need to take into account. And another key factor is the shift in the patterns of migration over the last few years. Asylum seeker dispersal, new settlement schemes like Homes for Ukraine. These factors have greatly diversified populations in very wide areas across our region, which demand a new approach to the delivery of learning. And that really needs to be an approach that capitalizes on new forms of digital communication. So it's about digital learning as a form of English learning, but it's also about English learning through the mediums of digital communication. And our two presentations today kind of address those issues. So first of all, we have our team from the Hope English School who are going to explore and reflect on the development of their work in the post-pandemic period. And then Gemma Kay and Caroline from North Yorkshire will be reflecting on their use of Flash Academy and other forms of digital delivery to address the needs of their learners across that vast expanse of North Yorkshire. So those are our key presentations. There's also an opportunity for you to discuss and share experience. And when we're doing that, you might want to remind yourselves of our key questions, which were in the blurb for the event. So I've just put them up there just to remind you of them. Won't go through them now, but we might need to return to them when we come to the discussion period, although they're partly addressed by Hope and North Yorkshire as we go along. Before we get there, though, we're just going to have a quick update, and I'm going to pass over to Mary to deliver the updates from Mesh. So, Mary, I'm going to stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Thank you, John. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you. I am Mary Begley. I'm a development worker for Kirklees and Calderdale. It's nice to see you all. I'm going to give a brief MESH update. So I'm just going to share my screen now, and hopefully you can see that the first thing we're going to talk about, can you see an Eventbrite page? I really hope you can. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see that. No.
At the moment.
Hold on.
Yes.
It's come up now.
There it is. Yeah.
You can see it now. Okay, that's fine. It's just a matter of clicking on it. Okay, so we've got a regional networking meeting coming up, and this is the Eventbrite page. It's live. The networking meeting is on Monday, the 7th of July in Leeds, and the topic is ESOL and devolution. It's free to register. It includes a free lunch. And at this meeting, we're going to be discussing how ESOL delivery can develop in this evolving landscape, as in our region, we've got some established mayoral combined authorities and other mayoral combined authorities at different stages of funding and moving towards funding and supporting ESOL. We've got a great lineup of speakers: Alistair Feeney from the Bell Foundation, Sarah Patel from Wicker, and Ryan Hunt from Simca. So the link to the Eventbrite page to register is in the chat, or it's about to be in the chat. So please join us. The second thing that I want to tell you about is our new healthcare professionals resource, which I should be switching onto now. And this, can you see that it's changed? It's on the Learning English in Yorkshire and Humber web page, and it's on the front page of our web page. So if you go down from the Find Your English class bit of the front of the web page, you get to support for health for migrant health professionals. So if you go into that, you can see that we have a resource for people who were healthcare professionals in their own country, be it nurse, doctor, OT, physio, etc. So we've got 3 sets of slides giving slightly different information here. So we've got slides for nurses or midwives who are wanting to register, and also for doctors and other healthcare professionals. And punctuating these slides is called Elahe, and she talks in 5 different sections on this resource about her story and her quest to become a midwife in the UK. And there are also links with our Emma from Migration Yorkshire about OET and IELTS, and how people can and we also have links to, of course, our LEYH website, where people can use the search terms OET or IELTS to help them find preparation classes in their area. Okay, so it's a really good resource, and we're proud of it, and we encourage you to visit it and to tell your learners about it. And the next thing that I want to share with you is, very briefly, if I'm hopefully sharing, yes, hopefully you should be able to see our social media here, and we have some photographs of our Connect and Grow project. And this is a new project that, well, we've been doing it for 6 months now. It's an ongoing project of MESH's. It's a series of volunteering workshops for refugees and people seeking asylum in the region, funded by the Hilden Trust. So we invite local organisations and people who are looking for volunteers to come and speak about the benefits of volunteering, and participants are encouraged to sign up on the spot for a volunteering role. So we're putting on 18 workshops in total, spread out across the region. So far we've done them in Leeds, Bradford and Hull, and this month it's Kirklees, so hopefully there'll be one in your area soon. So here you can see the photographs on social media, which actually leads me to the next topic, which I want to update you about, which is social media. And it's about Blue Sky, because MESH has taken the decision to leave X, social media, formerly Twitter. Along with countless other organisations across the globe, really, we at MESH have decided that if we believe, as we do, in inclusion, kindness, diverse communities and welcoming migrants, we have to step away from X, as we see that on the platform there is a rise of misinformation and harmful and hateful content. So you can join us on Blue Sky, as well as our other social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook. So please join us and collaborate with us on these platforms. And lastly, for the updates, MESH is currently working on a transnational families resource, and we're also doing a project around ESOL and employers. And I'm now going to hand you over to Angela, who will talk about that latter project. Angela.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. So just very quickly, I'm sure that a few of you have heard about our Progression Pathways project, in which we've been developing a resource to use with learners to help them self-reflect on their ESOL journey and their employment journey in the UK so far. And then kind of helping them find and access information which will enable them to take their next steps towards their goals, whether that is employment or whether it's volunteering or just social integration, helping their children with homework, whatever their goal is, kind of looking at ways that they can be supported to do that. The next step in this project is we're looking at employers and how to engage employers with ESOL learners. So we know that in the region there are a lot of employers who do employ migrants who have ESOL needs, who are at various different levels in their language journey. And we think and know that everybody else in ESOL also thinks that these employers should be engaging more with how the learners can get to a better level of understanding, more kind of progression within their lives and their work journey. So we're looking at kind of how to connect the dots, really. And what we're doing at the moment is putting a call out for anybody who has in the past or is currently working with employers to provide ESOL in any form, or anybody who knows of employers in their areas who are employing ESOL learners, and if they have any contacts. So we're looking at kind of getting in contact with as many as possible, talking to them, finding out how we can put the two together and to use the name of our organization, mesh them better. So I'm just going to put my email address in the chat, and if anybody has any contacts or information, I'd be really grateful if you would get in contact. Thank you. I think I'm passing back over to John now.
Emma, I think, actually.
Oh, Emma.
Thanks so much, Angela. Could you pop the slides back up, John? That'd be amazing. Yeah, so it's lovely to see so many familiar names in the chat. Lots of people that I know here, but probably a few people that I don't. So just to introduce myself properly, my name's Emma Taylor, and I work for Migration Yorkshire, and I'm the ESOL Regional Coordinator for Yorkshire and Humber. So essentially, Migration Yorkshire supports the 15 local authority areas with all things migration, but specifically I'm here to help with ESOL. So a lot of what I'm doing is trying to ensure that different local authority areas have multi-agency ESOL networks, and to work with commissioners and providers, and of course to work really closely with MESH so that we can try and eliminate duplication in the ESOL world, try and fill gaps, and just basically make it better for learners, improve the accessibility to ESOL, and also just really work together and provide a support network, because we know how hard it is for ESOL practitioners and commissioners and managers. There's such a lot going on. so many different eligibility rules, so many different funding streams, and there's always new challenges being thrown at us. So my email address is there. You can contact me with any ESOL related things, and if I can't help, I should be able to signpost you. But there's also a few links down there on that slide to our website, which is a great hub for all things migration. Lots of information, lots of statistics and data as well. So if you're putting together funding bids, if you're explaining ESOL to senior managers and so on, do take a look on there, because you can filter information for your particular area. If there's something you can't find on there, do get in touch with us, because we're always happy to help and try and filter information in different ways. We've also got a couple of really useful toolkits on there. Our ESOL for Refugees toolkit, which has got some great case studies and some really relevant information, and also the needs analysis and placement toolkit. So do please have a look at those. They're really useful resources to have out there. But today, as John has introduced the subject for us, and we've got some great presenters today, so it's my pleasure now to introduce Lucy Morley and Jane Middleton from Hope English School, who are talking about expanding digital provision to ESOL learners post-COVID. So Lucy and Jane, I'll pass over to you now. Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much, Emma. It's really, really great to be here, and we're so pleased to be able to speak to you all a little bit about what we've been doing in this field. So if you could just pop on to the next slide, that'd be great. So obviously that isn't me in the picture. I'm Lucy, and I'm part of the leadership team at Hope English School, standing in for Anna today. And then this is Jane, my colleague.
So I'm the class coordinator, and I also do grant applications for Hope English School.
And yeah, Hope English School, if you don't know who we are, we're a Sheffield-based charity teaching English, ESOL and digital skills to refugees and people seeking asylum across South Yorkshire. And today we'll just be sharing a little bit about how the COVID-19 pandemic pushed us to really rethink the way that we support ESOL learners digitally, and what we've learned along the way. We're definitely by no means experts in this. We're figuring it out as we go, like many of us were during the pandemic, figuring it all out. But we really hope you'll find something helpful. So I've got a little quote there. It says, "COVID didn't just disrupt learning, it revealed how digitally excluded many ESOL learners were." If you just go to the next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to read notes and it's all too difficult. Okay, so this was a pre-COVID picture for us. So we've been established as nearly 10 years now, and before COVID, our classes were very much like they look in the picture. Small community classes, teaching ESOL completely face-to-face. We used books, games, paper, a really traditional kind of classroom setup. We didn't really have much digital resources at all. We might have occasionally put something up on a screen, but not really. And we didn't really have any digital learning resources. Next slide, please. Then obviously the pandemic happened, and we couldn't run our community classes anymore at all, because obviously we weren't allowed to meet with our students. So what we did is we sent out a paper resource pack to everybody who was registered in one of our classes, which was something. Yeah, it was something that we did, and it was, a positive step. However, it took away so much of what we really loved about our classes, which was the community. There was no community there because we weren't able to support people. They were just doing it at home on their own, in their homes. So it was just really difficult for them. So we moved our classes online through Zoom. That just came with a whole other host of challenges. Many students weren't able to access it because they either didn't have Wi-Fi or a smartphone or a laptop device. And even if they did, many of our learners lacked the skills to actually use these, like the Zoom platform, and to access an online lesson. Our teachers had never taught online, so they lacked confidence. Now I think they all do some teaching online, but you know, 5 years ago that wasn't the case. And it was so different for them to teaching in the classroom that they just really found that shift really, really challenging. And do you want to just next slide, please, John? So we decided that we needed to do something to support our students to be able to access these online classes that we had put in place for them. So we joined, through the Good Things Foundation, we managed to get access to using the Learn My Way platform, which is basic. If you're not familiar with it, it's a platform which goes through basic digital skills. It's a course for anybody. It's designed for English speakers, so it was already not appropriate for any of our learners. So we took it, and Jane's going to talk a little bit more in a minute about what the course involves, but we took it and we adapted it so that it was appropriate for speakers of other languages, and particularly for speakers with low-level English. So we would use the kind of, you put a headset on to access Learn My Way, and you go through it like that, but we would pre-teach any necessary vocabulary. So they knew when it said move the mouse, they knew what the word for mouse was, use the keyboard, that sort of thing. So we were then doing it. Yeah, so that was what we did, because this was to like develop our digital skills course, because as soon as we could get them back in the classroom, we realized that this was just it highlighted how much the learners weren't able to access anything online, not just our classes, but booking a doctor's appointment, online shopping, using emails, all those sorts of things. So that was the main reason why we starting to think about the course. We adapted to teaching online, and so we applied through a grant funding, and we applied for some laptops, which we received. So we've got a laptop bank, which we were then able to lend out to students if they had a suitable device. And we developed the digital skills course, which we still teach now. So I'm going to hand over to Jane, who's going to tell you a little bit more about what the course involves.
Okay, thanks, Lucy. So if I could have the next slide, thank you. So yeah, so as Lucy said, so the Good Things Foundation have Learn My Way resources, which are aimed at native speakers. Some of you might have used the resources with your learners before, ESOL learners. So I'd actually used the resources before, but in a kind of bit of a random way. So we wanted to make it a bit more structured, so to create an actual course out of that material, which was suitable for our lower levels ESOL learners. So we developed a 12-week course. I'm saying it was 12 weeks initially, but now we've got a few additional lessons, because we found that there were a mixture of levels and people have different interests and needs. So it's an in-person course. Obviously, after COVID, we did a pilot with the Refugee Council. So it takes aspects of Learn My Way, the bits we felt were most relevant. So things like keyboard basics, online safety, using email, forms, office programs and creating documents for slightly higher levels. They need an employment section, which was used with some learners as well. So as Lucy said, some learners do struggle with reading. So we pre-teach the vocabulary and do some offline activities as well to break it up a little bit. And if people have low levels of literacy, we have the audio version. And Learn My Way, actually, a couple of years ago, they changed it slightly so that it is easier. So the sections are smaller, shorter, which has worked well for our learners. So we adapted the course accordingly. So other things like accessing local services, obviously it's all in a controlled environment. So you're not having to give personal data away. There's not strange pop-ups coming up and things which might throw learners and things like that and make them confused. It's all simulated situations but relate to real life. And we also included, like for online searches, things like looking for sort of learning English materials as well. So we adapted some English into it. For lower levels, for the keyboard basics, we did work around the QWERTY keyboard and actual letters. So literally for some learners, it did start a lot slower. So how to switch the keyboard on, matching activities. So it wasn't all people kind of with headsets on doing things on the laptops. We wanted it to be more interactive and like a traditional ESOL class, as well as the digital skills aspect of it. So if we could have the next slide. So we've now, since we did the first pilot, we've done the course 21 times. That's 12-week courses at 11 venues in Sheffield, Doncaster and Barnsley. And we've had over 200 students, which has been great. Some of our courses were women-only courses as well, which I think they were particularly rewarding because some of the learners hadn't really used laptops before at all. So obviously, as with ESOL classes, we had a few challenges, particularly as we were starting off the course. So different levels of English, which I'm sure all we've encountered before in ESOL classes. The fact that they have different levels of digital competency added to that. So we have volunteers in all our classes who can help one-to-one support lower level learners. The knowledge of subject-specific vocabulary, as I said, we've tried to teach specific vocabulary in a different way as we would in an ESOL class to make it easier when they're actually having instructions related to the tasks. People working at different speeds, so we tend to do a mixture of, sometimes if people are higher level, they can do an extra Learn My Way section, so it's quite flexible like that, and we can support learners who want to work slower. So sometimes some learners might get a very small amount done each lesson, but it's the fact they're achieving something, and our feedback's been really positive, particularly of those people who haven't got prior knowledge before. So yeah, so those are some of the challenges. So the solutions which I've sort of touched upon, so offline activities, a hybrid of whole class and Learn My Way activities, the audio option, and the extra sections. So we have had 1 or 2 classes where we've had higher level students. So people on a recent course actually wanted to learn about Excel and spreadsheets and things like that. So we've been able to incorporate that into some of our courses. So the feedback was positive. So they particularly liked email, creating documents, including CVs for some people, accessing free online material. So that's something they could also do on the phones if they didn't have access to a laptop. At one course we did recently in Barnsley, we were able to provide laptops. It was through, I think it was through the Refugee Council that they were able to provide laptops for our learners, which was great because they could then continue at home what they'd started off with. So I think the gaining of confidence was the biggest thing that a lot of our learners took from it, and not feeling daunted by a laptop as opposed to just using the phone for anything digital and internet based. So we're really pleased with how it's going, and it continues to evolve with all the different groups that we've taught, really. And I'll pass back to Lucy, who's going to talk about
yeah. So what we've learned from doing it is that the main thing is that access isn't enough. So when we obviously went online in the pandemic with the Zoom, even people who had access might not have had the support or the confidence. I think that's what was really clear by what Jane said. That's what people have really valued from the course, is the confidence to be able to use these digital tools, which is just really great. We started small. We did a pilot just to kind of get our heads around what we were doing, and we've just gradually built up from there. Don't reinvent the wheel. So we used what was already available, and we were really grateful to have the Learn My Way. We used so much of it, and we continue to use lots of it. We've tweaked it to help our learners. There's no point throwing something out that's really good and doing the work all over again. And we found that there really is a demand for this. So there's a real demand for digital skills training for speakers of other languages. And we found that it continues to be a priority if you're looking for funding and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're still applying for funding now to run courses, and that's often successful because it's seen as a real need. Next slide, please. So yeah, so as Jane said, we're always sort of adapting the course. We're looking at kind of a lower level digital skills course, and also recently developed a much higher level for some healthcare professionals that we've been working with. And we're also in the process of developing a touch typing program as well. We had a PhD student who's been starting that up for us. So that's something that's really exciting, because that's often feedback that we get, which is just the ability to use the keyboard and things like that, something that's really difficult. So that's the next step for us with this. And then I think there's just one more slide left. Yeah, just the final quote. So this is from the Good Things Foundation. So digital skills and English language skills are key to inclusion in society. Gaining these skills, along with the confidence and motivation to use them in real life, can help people to have better lives. I mean, we just think that's really great. That sums up what we do, and about helping people to build community where they are, and online communities where they are as well is equally important. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lucy and Jane. That was so interesting and so informative. I think we'll be able to take a lot away from that. And I'm sure we'll come back to some of the things you spoke about when we have some opportunity for discussion. I'm just going to pass over to John to introduce the next presenters.
Yes, thank you very much, Lucy and Jane. Really interesting, and yeah, we'll pick up some of those issues as Emma says, but we will move on directly now to our other presentation, which is from North Yorkshire Adult Learning and Skills Service, more specifically Gemma, Kay and Caroline. So Gemma, are you starting? Over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Gemma. I'm the ESOL lead tutor for North Yorkshire Council, and I'm also a teacher. So if we go to the next slide, please, John. Something very similar to what Lucy and Jane had said, that we had, learners not able to access things. Feedback from teachers was if they could get online, there were lots of barriers. So we developed some really simple courses, 3 of them, that we could deliver to ESOL learners to initially get them online and get them remote learning and get them to be able to access not just our courses but other things online. And as Lucy and Jane said, sort of apps, NHS app, looking for work, all these things that our learners were telling us they wanted to do. So John, the next slide please. The first one that we start with is sort of a basic ICT for beginners, and you really have to start with all the vocabulary that they're going to need, not just about parts of the laptop, but also things like scroll up, scroll down, select, copy. We had to introduce all that kind of language for them. And then also, again, similar to what Lucy and Jane have said, that getting familiar with using the keyboard, finding out where the space bar was, common keys that you can use. And then within this course, they would simply have like a worksheet prepared by the teacher, which could be anything the teacher been focusing on, any vocabulary. So for example, a speaking activity about describing their house, and I just had rooms in the house, and they had to type in the room, change this colour, change the size, change the format, things like changing the style. They didn't know that that kind of thing could be done. And then within that, by the end of the course, they can save a document and then attach it to an email and then send a very simple a simple email, but also, you know, within that, it was getting them on email, showing them, you know, words like compose they needed to learn. So this is all sort of the basic IT, the sort of very foundation to learning and using their computer or laptop. Next slide, please, John. So the next course was Teams Language for Beginners. So within that one, they get to understand Microsoft Teams, get to see what it looks like, get to look to see how to even log on, what the email looks like, where they click to take them to the class. And then obviously the vocabulary related to Teams, learning how to use the chat with each other and with the teacher. And then also the communication that comes up, you know, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can you see? Turn your microphone on. No, I can't hear you. That kind of, all that kind of language that happens to us all. Okay, all comes up in that kind of class. So this was designed to get them using Teams confidently to then have access to, you know, the accredited classes, the TL courses that we're running, and to be able to access all the opportunities that we have. Next slide, please, John. And then the Microsoft Office. So within this, it's creating a document, going back to the basic IT skills of changing the styles, the themes, searching on the internet for images that they can then paste in, change the size, bringing in online safety, and also creating a PowerPoint. And for me as a teacher, I've kind of tried to link it into sort of speaking activities. So the PowerPoint presentations really helped with the accredited speaking exam, because they're speaking clearly, they're using the notes from the PowerPoint, but then forming sentences and then getting questions and responding to the questions. I also, for some of the learners that I've worked with, they didn't have Microsoft Office and they don't have the money to pay for it. So I used a program called LibreOffice, which was free. And it has pretty much the same features as Microsoft, but it does look different. So as a teacher, you need to be aware that possibly what you're showing them on your Word isn't what they can see. So you have to make sure that it sort of corresponds with what they're looking at. Next slide, please. Thank you, John. It's very COVID, isn't it? Like the Chris Whitty. Next slide, please. In addition to this, we've used Flash Academy. So Flash Academy is an online platform that you, as a teacher, you can go in, and there's a lot of ESOL content that you can then assign to the class that you've created or an individual learner, depending on what you want your class to do. Within this, they also have access to the whole platform, so they can do a lot of independent learning at their own time. If you're, as a teacher, you're setting up a task, you can put a deadline of like the next week or before the lesson, so that they're submitting it, or you can look at what they've done before the next class. And they can also download it onto their mobile. Most of mine have it on their mobile as well as a laptop if they have one, and they study on the bus or just in the evening. One of my learners said that it was easier on their mobile phone because they always have their mobile phone on them. They just always have it. And then within the classroom, there's interactive games. You can also set the students up doing something while you're having a tutorial or a one-to-one with the other class, and they can then work at their own pace. The instructions are in they can select their first language, which has been really helpful. But feedback I have had from some of the learners is that there are quite a lot of mistakes in their native language, and obviously I can't read Tigrinya, and so I don't know, but they have said that whilst it's not a massive problem, they do notice the mistakes. But there's Arabic, Sereni, Tigrinya, Farsi, and this sort of makes it easier for them to then not blocked by not understanding the instructions, and it sort of assimilates the learning with the English. There's also an assessment feature, but it can be slightly easy. Sort of feedback from teachers has been that it's giving the learners a higher level. So as a teacher, you might have to go in and monitor what they're doing. It's only sort of it's linked to group to sort of pre-entry E1, and if you've got a mixed class, some of them are going to move through very quickly, but the good thing is that they can then select a higher level themselves and work through whatever they want. Next slide, please, John. Thank you. So it really has been positive, Flash Academy. It's increased, obviously, their independence and vocabulary retention. It's helped my learners a lot with spelling and the reading of the word and looking at the whole word. But there's also things on there with phonics. I did a lot of work on phonics with my very low level group, and then they can go on and practice and revise some, and you can set a task for an individual learner who might need a bit of practice with a certain sound, and then give another learner a different homework task. They do find it fun, and you, as a teacher, you can see the scoreboards and they get points, and so you can, at the beginning of the class, you can say, oh look, so and so's got this many points. And the accessibility on the mobile was really good. It's very bright, it's very colourful. It has been challenging to keep them going on independently if there's not a homework set, but I have found that certainly for the ladies with children, they're using it with their children, and this was really important for a lot of our learners, was to be able to help and support their children with learning, and so it's something that quite a lot of them do together. And another challenge is that when you set up the task as a teacher, you can only see what they're going to learn. You can't see the how they're going to do it. You don't see what game it is or what activity they have to do. So that's quite challenging. They're telling you they've got a problem, you have to sort of look and understand what activity it is that they're doing. Next slide, please. Thank you, John. So some of the strategies, obviously with Flash Academy, it has the bilingual instructions, which helps them build up their confidence and help motivate them to get to use it. And the visual aids are very clear. And in terms of using Teams and sharing the screen, I make my visual aids that I'm showing them really clear. Like I have sort of a step-by-step, slide-by-slide with the arrows pointing, save as, desktop, and just then I can email it to them, and they can work through and revise it themselves. And obviously if you're sharing your screen, you can demonstrate things as they happen. And on Microsoft Teams, there's the breakout rooms, and you just move them into a little room. They can have a little chat. You can pop in as a teacher, have a listen, and then retreat out and then do some group feedback, and that sort of helps them with their confidence. If they're moving on to Teams Educate, you can have a whole classroom online and they can access all the homework. You could send them messages and it keeps it all contained in one area. And it's been really good. North Yorkshire, as you know, is massive. We have a lot of learners in remote places, so remote learning is really their only option. People with young children, if their children are going to nursery, then they can study at home. It's definitely increasing their confidence. a class that I've worked with recently were very, very reluctant to get digital and to use digital skills. But within about half an hour, they were like, oh, this is really easy and it's really fun. I was like, yes. But obviously there are challenges. You do, for remote learning and joining remote classes, there needs to be a good Wi-Fi connection. And those seeking asylum or those in quite remote areas may not have really good Wi-Fi. What if they're accessing on a mobile phone, what they can see may be different to what you see on a laptop. And obviously some of the learners have just no digital literacy at all, so you have to sort of start them off at the very beginning, hence the basic IT courses, to get them learning remotely and to be able to access all our courses. Next slide, please, John. Thank you. As well as running the individual courses, we have embedded them into our adult curriculum, both TL and accredited. So obviously some classes are online, but we also try and put the skills in as well. So there's a lot of sort of sending emails, searching for things online, creating documents to then send in to the teacher, editing documents that the teacher might send to them, using apps, and from that they can really take it wherever they want to go. So depending on what their individual objectives are, is it accessing NHS, is it being able to write a CV, is it being able to search for jobs online? It really does sort of open a lot of things for them. But then it also really does link into what you're teaching as your ESOL skills of speaking and real life situations. But it does have to be really, really scaffolded, really supportive. You're relying on sort of the teacher to have some good idea of ICT and how to support the learners. So you're kind of constantly thinking, what problem are they going to have? How can I solve it? What do I need to prepare for? Next slide, please, John.
Just 1 minute left, Gemma.
Okay, thank you. So these are some of the things that we've used. I think I've talked about what works well. We also use OWLs, so we have hybrid learning. And I think as an organization, we've used it really effectively, and a lot of our learners are now much more confident at accessing all our online classes. I think, is there one more slide, John? Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, so these are just some of the things that we've embedded. And as I said, and I've covered, it really does give them the transferable skills and helps them settle in and hopefully meet their individual objectives of job hunting, accessing more education. And yeah, I think we've done it really, really successfully, and it can be challenging as a teacher. You do want to have to take it slow, but the way that they can go from nothing to accessing classes and booking their own train ticket and finding a job and creating their own CV, I mean, there's just a lot of positives that come out of it. And that's it.
Thank you, Gemma, so much. Can I please put myself down for the Teams for Beginners course?
Yes.
After that. Okay, I think I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to discussion and questions now. Safina's going to handle this. Safina, shall I come off the slides for this?
Yes, please. There were a few questions in chat, but Kay has answered them. So I'm going to put it out to the floor now. So if there's any questions, raise your hand for Gemma. Lucy or Jane?
Safina, I wanted to ask Kay and Caroline just about the cost of it. What's the cost for Flash Academy subscriptions, and is any of it available for free? And then leading on from that, if anyone knows of any kind of small grants that might be available to smaller organizations if they wanted to, you know, to do something like that, to use it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Lucy actually buys our licenses. I think they're about £75 each, but they can be allocated to a learner and then reallocated once that learner's finished with it. It's not just like a one-off type of thing. They do the assessments as well, which we're not currently using, but we're looking at the moment because it's quite a recent addition.
Just add to that, Caroline. I'm sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up on Zoom.
Tracy, you're on mute.
Am I? Sorry.
Am I
good? Am I good? Just to say that Lucy sent the costs through. So we pay about £14,000 for 300 licenses. So it's just less than £50 a license, and that's for the adult site. That's without the assessment ones, they're separate.
I was going to add as well that something that we've found is that in terms of funding for the courses, there's not that much money, and sometimes it can take a very long time. Like it's taking our ICT courses start at E3, so we need to get our ESOL learners up to that level. And whilst the sort of basic IT course gets them remote learning, you still, for some of them, it could still take a long time, and the funding at the moment doesn't really support that, which is why you're then looking at embedding it obviously into your ESOL classes much more than before.
John, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thanks, Safina. I wanted to ask a question about access, really, I think. Because I think Gemma, it presented, like the first bit of what Gemma was saying was about, you know, introduction to different bits of using different bits of technology and platforms and so on. And the second part, when you talk about Flash, seemed to be much more about using that platform in the context of an ESOL class directly. It's an ESOL class where you're using these kind of digital elements. Whereas I think with Lucy and Jane, correct me if I'm wrong, Lucy and Jane, you're presenting that as a class in digital learning. So the question I have really for you all is about access, whether presenting a class whether you found that presenting a class as to do with digital learning actually might create a barrier to access for people who just want to learn English. Now, if you just want to learn English, then actually it's really important to get hold of those elements of digital communication because they're a part of learning everyday English now. But I wonder whether you found that some people said, okay, this isn't for me because I need to focus on English and just rapidly learn English without tackling all these kind of things. And especially, I think, for more older learners, people who kind of think, okay, these things are for young people and I just need to, you know, be able to talk to my doctor. When actually, to talk to your doctor, you need to have those digital capacities. So I just wondered what you thought about that whole area.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when we present it initially as a digital skills course, a general thing, when they don't know us already and who we are, there is a bit of a barrier, as you said, particularly with older people. So what we've tended to do is partner with organisations where there's already a cohort of learners. For example, we did one women's class like that, and some of them were very reluctant at first, but we've done think, either 3 or 4 courses there because there was such demand for it, and they were the ones who were really enthusiastic by the end. Oh, I didn't realise it could be so fun. You know, like Gemma said, it's that initial, it's something I don't understand and I don't want to do it. I don't know who Hope English School are, and you know, yeah, I just want to do English. But when they realise there's English in it and it's just enabling them to help the children or do everyday tasks, then yeah, we found that those courses work better. There was a bit of resistance in some, you know, when we were first starting off, just recruiting people in the community generally, we needed to target it a bit more to people that we'd already worked with before, then they were more receptive to it, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, quite often if we've got an ESOL class running, we might say to the learners in that, would you be interested in also doing some digital skills and then run another class for those same learners, a bit like what Jane's saying. So we've already got the initial contact with them. Going in cold, we've found has not been successful. They don't know us, they don't trust us. It's building that relationship, which is so important.
I think embedding the digital skills, like you said, is something that we would like to do more of. We're quite limited for time and how many classes we can do. So we've just done an employability course, but that was just 6 weeks, which we wanted to do some digital skills in that, but there just wasn't the time to do it. But if we did it again, we'd like to embed stuff more, because I think that's a really good way to go, really.
Yeah, it sounds like our experience has been really similar. And there is always that sort of barrier with some learners. And then once it's embedded, or once you sort of get over that initial shock or fear, which we've found successful with embedding it, we've then got these sort of very isolated learners online and into different classes. And I mean, I'm just thinking of one in particular who was 100% refusing to join online classes, and I've recently just observed him in an online class, teacher, you know, emailing his homework. But yeah, I think if you it'd have to be sort of in the marketing and easing them in, because if they have that barrier, then they're not going to join a basic IT course that's called a basic IT course. So yeah, but I would agree with you, Lucy and Jane. It's been really similar.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I'm going to scroll across. I can't see if anyone's raising their hands. Oh, somebody's asked a question in chat. I think Andrea's asking, does anybody have a template for an online ILP? Does anybody have that?
We have one we can share.
Thank you, Caroline. So that was Andrea. So if you do want to get in touch via chat, you can exchange emails or we can get you in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, Savina, I could just say, so as well as ILPs, it might be useful for people to have templates for schemes of work. And actually, I did a project with the Good Things Foundation in Manchester before I started working over in Yorkshire, and that is there's a report from that which is publicly available, which includes model schemes of work and lesson plans and so on for entry 1 and pre-entry level. So perhaps I'll include that.
Yeah. When we share the slides, we can possibly share that.
Yeah, but also, actually, it's a good lead into the next session, Safina, because, you know, we're hoping, like the last time when we looked at literacy, we had our showcase like this, and then we had another session afterwards where we opened the floor more to people to sort of give sort of short case studies from their own work, or to raise particular kind of issues that they're interested in related to this theme. And we are planning that, aren't we, Safina?
Yes.
For digital learning as well.
Yes, so it'll be early September. We're thinking early September to have that follow on. So if anyone's got any further examples they'd like to share, they'll have the floor for 5 minutes in the soapbox.
Yes, so I might share some of that.
Yeah, I think that might be nice to share that then. Yeah.
Alongside other people, but we really need everybody to like sort of chip in and
Yeah.
give us their examples so that we can just sort of develop the conversation a little bit more. So we haven't got the actual date yet, have we? But
No,
but it will be early September because you know summer gets in the way.
Yeah, and just before classes start again in the new term, I think it'll be a nice reminder of things that they can use. Teachers can have examples for their lessons.
Yes.
I've put the evaluation form in the chat, so I'd really appreciate if you complete that as well.
Sorry, I'll put up the
QR code.
QR code as well.
I have put it in chat as well, so you can link through that. It's literally 5 questions for you to complete, 5 or 6 questions.
Yes, and there it is, because we've run out of time, haven't we?
Bang on, 32 minutes over.
Okay, so we will close it there. Please do fill the evaluation form for us. We'd be really grateful for your thoughts and ideas, both on this session and for things going forward. And as Safina says, there's a question on there about our follow-on session, which will be early September. If you've got any thoughts or ideas or examples related to the issue of digital learning, then please do let us know and we'll be in touch. In the meantime, very, very many thanks to Lucy and Jane and Gemma for the really fascinating presentations, which will be the springboard for the next session. And we'll be sharing the slides with everyone after this and reminding you of the key points that Lucy, Jane and Gemma made when we get closer to the next session in September. I think that's it, is it?
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much for coming, everyone, and good luck with the rest of the term.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye,
Thank you very
everyone.
much, guys. Bye.
John, you can press stop recording.